We gave you a lacrosse preview. Now it's time for boys volleyball, softball, and baseball. Next on SFBN Talks High School Sports. Talk about that game and that team in particular. And let's talk about some of the players. Yeah, so let's talk about that. Welcome to another edition of SFBN Talks High School Sports. I'm your host, Ari Bluestein, and Mike, the weather finally getting warmer. We've actually had some baseball played here in this area, so let's talk about that. Let's look at the city first, and Newman-Goretti, they killed it during basketball season with a boys and girls state championship, but they've got a pretty good baseball team too.
Yeah, it's really impressive how good an athletic program this school has been able to build up. They're led by pitcher Pat Dudecan, who's heading to the University of Charleston, the College of Charleston actually, and also Beto, who's a pitcher, a shortstop, and an outfielder. This young man can do it all. He's heading to Fairleigh Dickinson University. He'll probably stay at either shortstop or the outfield at Fairleigh Dickinson, but he is a really good player. And, you know, when you have a team with the top two players like that, you're going to be very tough to beat. Yeah,
and Archbishop Wood, I think, might be the team that could give Newman-Goretti the most competition. But other good teams, you have LaSalle, Archbishop Carroll, and Bonner Prendy in their overall Catholic League, very good baseball league.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at Archbishop Wood, they probably have the best player, if you will, in Joe Lancelotti. He's a pitcher outfielder who's heading down to North Carolina. He'll probably play the outfield in North Carolina. But you look at him and quarterback Anthony Russo. It's a lot like what you're seeing in Major League Baseball right now, where everything that's coming out of a bullpen is breathing fire and throwing 100 miles an hour. Well, you're starting to see the trickle down of that in high school baseball as well. You're starting to see some real power arms. And guys like Lancelotti and Russo really have those power arms. It's going to make Archbishop Wood tough to beat. For LaSalle, LaSalle is, you know, this program doesn't rebuild, it reloads, but they're doing it under a new head coach. Joe Parisi is now just the athletic director. He stepped back from the baseball team. They still have Jimmy Herron, who's then heading down to the University of Duke. So there's a lot of top quality, top echelon baseball players in the Catholic League.
Yeah, really are. And, you know, Bonner Prendy with a good brother combo there. They played football as well. You know, you talked about Russo playing football, the DeGalbo twins, a good story there. In the public league, Central, they've got a brother combo as well, Greg and Danny Holdsman. But I like Franklintown Charter. I think they're a team to watch for the public league.
Yeah, absolutely. Franklintown Charter is the team to keep an eye on, and here's why. They lost in the city championship game last year. Well, they return almost everyone from that team. That team's going to be hungry, they're experienced, they're not going to be intimidated by the atmosphere. That's definitely the team to keep an eye on, in my opinion, in the public league.
Well, let's move into the private schools now, and when you think of good private school baseball, you think of the Interact League. Very talented teams, all 6 teams, usually pretty competitive, but the number one team, I think, are the Malvern Prep Friars. They shared the championship in the Interact League last year. Talk about Malvern Prep a little bit.
Well, the Friars are sending a pair of players to Lehigh, and they have a pitcher in Brandon Inglis, and they have Chris Butera in the outfield. Chris Butera is really a good player, as is Inglis out on the hill. So when you have that infield-outfield combination, or, you know, the outfield and the pitcher combination, Brandon Inglis, really tough to try and get a hit off of. And when someone does make contact, Butera's usually flagging it down in the outfield.
And Penn Charter, the team that tied Malvern Prep for the Interact League crown last year, they've had a couple of early season stumbles, and there's some surprises in the Interact as well.
Yeah, they actually lost to Springside Chestnut Hill early in the league, which was a bit of a shocker, but to me, not something you really worry about. Even in high school baseball is more of a marathon than it is a sprint. You know, these teams play 30 or 40 games. So an early season loss, it's cold outside, it wasn't quite happening for you. Not the end of the world. It's when you start to get into the spring months, and it's when it starts to happen consistently that you get a little worried. But 1 or 2 early season trip-ups, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, and one team in the Interact that's kind of surprised some people is Episcopal Academy. Now, they really had a tough year last year. Very young team this year, but they have had a strong start here in 2015.
Yeah, they sure have, and it comes on the hands of Cameron Van Horbeck, the pitcher. This young man's touching 90 miles an hour as a sophomore. That's really hard to do. He's consistently in the 80 to 85 range, but in that game that they were victorious over Germantown, he touched 92 miles per hour on the radar gun. He's just a sophomore. This team's going to grow. He's going to grow as a pitcher. We're going to be talking about Episcopal in the future, no doubt about it.
Now, in the suburbs, there is such a wide area to cover, but when you look at the suburban schools, Springford, I feel like, is a team that you really need to pay attention to. A lot of good talent for the Rams.
Well, any team that has Connor Clement on it, you need to pay attention to, and he's going to be heading to the University of Penn State next year. But he's an outstanding shortstop. They also have Cameron Simmons out in the outfield. He's going to be heading down to the University of Virginia. Big-time Division I talent on that Springford team.
Now, another Rams squad in Suburban 1, Penn Ridge, I think they are going to be the top team in Suburban 1. And you've got a mix of a couple other teams in there. You have Penncrest out of the Central League, Council Rock North, Pennsbury, North Penn. They're all teams that I think will be in the mix as well.
I would keep an eye on Pennsbury. Pennsbury doesn't have the big-time Division I talent that we see from a lot of these other schools, but it's kind of the sum of the parts is greater, you know what I mean? And this team has been playing together for a while. I like this Pennsbury team. I don't think they're going to be toward the top, but I think they're going to make some noise. They came up with a big win over Council Rock North earlier on this week.
Yes, they did, and there's a lot of baseball to be played as the weather gets warmer. And a lot of these players we talked about, they're going to Division I colleges, and they have aspirations to potentially make it to the pros. And when we return, we're going to talk to one of those players who was living out his dream. Next on SFBN Talks High School Sports.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. When I was in high school, it was very important to me to show scouts what I could do. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you're a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
For over 30 years, the Runaround has serviced southeastern Pennsylvania as the premier team outfitter in the region. Located in Abington, the Runaround serves as a one-stop shop for many of the area's top high school and collegiate athletic programs, as well as numerous travel teams, youth organizations, and corporations. With its top-quality screen printing and embroidery coupled with the best prices in the region, the Runaround is your answer to any team apparel needs.
The Ambler Sports Academy is owned and operated by professional teachers and coaches. We specialize in individual, group, and team training. Book your next baseball or softball birthday party with us or call to learn more about how we can improve your organization by providing coaching clinics, tryout evaluations, and on-the-field training. The Ambler Sports Academy will be offering summer camps at the following locations. Be sure to visit our website today for details. We look forward to helping your players reach their maximum potential.
Welcome back to SFBN Talks. And Mike, we just talked about a lot of really talented high school baseball players going to Division I programs. Wouldn't it be great if in a few years from now we see them playing in the big leagues?
Well, it's really every athlete's dream. Whether you're playing Little League Baseball and you're hitting the walk-off home run, or you're in your driveway and you're hitting the fadeaway that wins the NBA Finals, it really is every athlete's dream to go pro.
And we had a chance to talk to one of those athletes, and we sent out our own Lyle Bowden to talk to Archbishop Ryan grad Nick Ferdinand.
Lyle Bowden here with Archbishop Ryan High School graduate and professional baseball player, Nick Ferdinand. Tell us something that you learned as a child growing up all the way through Archbishop Ryan that has stuck with you until this very day.
Something that stuck with me, it's funny, when I was playing Little League ball or even in high school, my dad would always tell me to kind of keep my shoulder in and kind of try to point to the second baseman and drive the ball that way. And kind of looking back on that moment now as a professional, I see that it creates better barrel direction and the ability to drive the ball up the middle better. So it's kind of funny, you know, you learn something kind of that elementary and it kind of comes full circle like that. So. That angle's going to create that.
Plenty of children grow up rooting for their favorite team, and usually their favorite team is their home team. If they do go through school and go through high school and want to become a professional athlete, it's very rare that they get drafted. But to be drafted by the team that they rooted for and their home team, you were drafted by the Philadelphia Phillies. How did that make you feel?
That made me feel really great. It was truly a humbling and satisfying and rewarding experience. I didn't really know what to expect. You know, I tried to picture how I would react and everything if I did ever get drafted, you know, when I was younger and I was thinking about that opportunity. You know, I was kind of a little bit worried at one point it wasn't going to happen, but luckily it did. It felt great. I mean, it was, you know, to kind of see all that hard work pay off to that single moment. Mm-hmm. It's funny because it was rewarding, but the more rewarding part of it was putting in all the work and sacrifice previous to that moment. And, you know, because I kind of felt the same I did an hour before a little bit, you know, but it was just kind of like, oh, okay. All right, here we go again though. I gotta keep working.
Watch yourself. This is me being scared. Must be behind this. What would you say is the best advice that you could give to a high school athlete aspiring to become a professional ball player?
Playing professional ball, so the best advice I would say would be, you know, baseball is a game of failure, you know, so you got to learn how to deal with those defeats, you know, that failure. You know, you're not going to hit every time, you know, kind of keep that mental game in check a little bit and keep learning about yourself, keep learning about your swing, what works for you, you know, and own that, and just kind of keep working hard towards those things. And if you really want to be a good professional baseball player, those are the things that will help you, you know. Learning why you do the things you do, and doing the things that you don't really necessarily want to do, but you know it'll pay off in the long run. That idea of delayed gratification with certain things. So that would be my best advice.
Thank you so much. I wish you the very best in your career.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine.
Hi, I'm Marty Bystrom, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. In my experience in Major League Baseball, I know how important it is for high school athletes to gain exposure. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the sports fan base network. If you are a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
I got the personal attention I needed, I had a lot of options when I graduated, and as far as I'm concerned, this is my dream job.
Ryder prepared me for my NBA career, and I also got the education that I need for life after basketball.
I had 6 teaching internships while I was at Rider, and right after graduation, I started a career that I love.
The Writers' Corner is brought to you by El Dion Pejolari State Farm Insurance Agency. For all your insurance and financial needs, please contact El Dion and his friendly team at 215-485-5556 or visit their website, epinsured.com. Welcome back. It's now time for the Writers' Corner, and we are joined by Jen Wielgus of Game On. Jen, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I know softball is your thing in the spring, and we talk about the Catholic League on the show, but I know you cover mostly Bucks and Montgomery County. Some of those teams fall into your coverage area, so talk about those teams and maybe what you've seen so far.
Well, I have not seen as much softball as I A, planned to, and B, wanted to, just because the weather this spring has been so abysmal. It's kind of a theme every spring. I think when you talk about the Catholic League, you have to mention Archbishop Ryan no matter what, because they have such a great tradition, and they've been in that state tournament so many times, and they have their pitcher back, Carrie Dodalski. But we do cover Conway and Lansdale Catholic. Now, those are also teams with great traditions. Veteran coaches, disciplined teams. Lansdale Catholic made it to the state semifinals at AAA last year. Now, you know, as is the story with most teams, they lost a lot of great seniors, lost a lot of leadership. So they might not quite be on that level this year, but they also have their pitcher back in Ashley Seal. And then Conway, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, has its pitcher back. They have 2 pitchers they can throw out there, Alyssa Adams and Alexis Gartner, who pitched the team into the state playoffs last year. So it's hard to say now because teams haven't really spent a lot of time outside playing games. I don't think those teams are going to be great as they have in the past, but they'll be competitive.
Yeah, I think overall the PCL will be pretty competitive, and I know Suburban 1 also extremely competitive. Let's start in the National. What do you have there?
Well, I love the Suburban 1 League because it is just, if you want to see great softball, I mean, it is a dogfight every single time teams go out there. I mean, every time I think there's a team that maybe I can put a little bit above the pack, they go out and lose to a team that I didn't think they would lose to. So it's parity. Like Council Rock South got destroyed by Abington the other day. Abington's a great team with a great offense. Ben Salem took Neshaminy to extra innings, then lost to Council Rock South. Pennsbury just lost to Ben Salem the other day. So, I mean, it's really not a bad thing. It's a good thing that these teams are so closely matched. I would say, though, that Neshaminy might have a little bit of an advantage because they played for a state championship in 2013, and they have 3 players on that team, 2 seniors, who played in that game. So I would say Neshaminy maybe is a better team, but they have 2 freshman pitchers, so you never know.
Yeah, you really don't. And the Continental, I know that's another very strong league. Anybody stand out to you in that division?
Well, what stands out to me is that in 12 of the last 14 years, a team from the Suburban 1 League has played for the state championship.
Wow.
At the highest classification of the PIAA. And most of the local champions that have come out have been from that Continental Conference. There's really no great teams this year. You know, Souderton won it last year as kind of a surprise, won the state championship. Again, lost a lot of seniors. But we're off to an unbeaten start in the Continental schedule. But CB South is always there. CB East is always there. And then you have North Penn, who has a great player in Jackie Bellotti on the mound, and she can also really swing the bat. So those teams also have been beating up on each other. I really can't say that one's better than the next.
Well, you mentioned a lot of players that you probably think pretty highly of. Is there anybody else that really stands out thus far in the early going in 2015 as either a pitcher or a position player?
Well, I was a pitcher when I played, so I'm a little bit biased towards that position, the focal point of the field. I really love watching Jackie Morrell at Ben Salem. She's a senior pitcher. She's been in the program for 4 years, and you can just tell by the way she conducts herself on the mound, the way she leads her team, she leads the chants. She's super invested in making Ben Salem a contender because, you know, they don't have a great tradition.
Right.
And then at Pennsbury, Casey Boltersdorf is a left-handed pitcher, which is always a little bit of a wrinkle, an imposing presence on the mound, and she's sort of the guardian of a really great tradition that Pennsbury has in softball. And then, like I mentioned earlier, Jackie Bellotti, I mean, she not only pitches, a lot of times teams don't hit their pitcher, but she's just a really valuable bat for the Maidens, who have a great tradition also. And then Kayla Ventura at CB East, she's a junior. She's been starting since she was a freshman, and she's just an unflappable presence on the mound.
Well, it sounds good, and I hope that you get to see a lot more softball as the weather gets warmer here in late April and early May. Jen Wielgus from Game On, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And when we come back, we'll switch over to another spring sport, boys volleyball, up next on SFBN Talks High School Sports.
The Sports Fan Base Network, this area's leader in high school sports broadcasting, is heading to TCN with a brand new talk show. Join us every other Wednesday at 6 o'clock for SFBN Talks High School Sports. We'll have everything from interviews with players, coaches, writers, and more, plus analysis, rankings, highlights, and in-depth features on major topics in the Delaware Valley high school sports community. Tune in every other Wednesday, 6 p.m. on TCN for SFBN Talks High School Sports.
Welcome back. We are now joined by Brendan Ledwith and Jack Waltrich of Archbishop Wood Boys Volleyball. Thanks for coming on the show today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So, Brendan, you are the coach. How did you get into coaching boys volleyball?
I got into coaching through playing. I started out as a player in high school in central Pennsylvania, and then once I graduated high school, I went on to college and played club, and then during college, a local club asked for coaches, and so I started coaching there, and then I fell in love with it, and then after I got out of college, I started coaching club in high school in the local area.
Jack, how about yourself? What was your path to the game?
I started playing CYO co-ed volleyball, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, but it wasn't really that competitive. And then 2 years ago, Wood got a boys volleyball team, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to try it out, so I went to a couple workouts, and I really just fell in love with it. So
Brendan, Jack's only been with you for a couple of years. How has he developed as a player for you?
Jack has developed into a really great player. He, has put a lot of time, effort, and dedication into playing in the off season, playing club, as well. Anytime we are looking for practice, he's always there and always ready to play. And I would, put him up against some of the best players in the area right now.
Coach, you talked a lot about your experiences throughout the game earlier on. I mean, what's it like trying to build a program from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, coming from an area where boys volleyball is big and it's a well-known sport, to this area where it's just not as well developed, it's the big thing that we've done is go into the grade schools and middle schools and really try and promote boys volleyball there. And we've seen the increase in kids wanting to play and as well as support for our program.
Yeah, some of the other spring sports, you think of baseball and lacrosse, they're bigger, but I feel like volleyball, Jack, is really important. The team concept is important. You have to have the rapport. You have to have the communication with your teammates. Talk about that with your Archbishop Wood Viking teammates.
Yeah, communication is definitely a huge thing in volleyball, and I think our team has good communication. We're all friends off the court, so that always helps, and then we work on it a lot during practice.
Now, you talk about working on it on practice. I mean, how does that work? Do you guys just kind of blindly run into one another and hope it works out, then realize it's not going to? How does that work?
Well, I always remember the one drill we did where we're connected at the waist by a rope, and we have to play a set of volleyball, and that doesn't work unless you communicate. So that helped us get communicating a lot.
Now, Jack is your star outside hitter here, but who are some of the other key players for your team that has led you to the success this season?
This year we have a great setter in Chris Qualia and a really good libero in Sean Emmerich, and then Robbie Russell just adds and rounds out our offense really nicely in the middle, and that has helped us tremendously. But like you said, it's team sport, and all 9 players that rotate in through our system right now are really helping us go to where we are.
Coach, in your first year as a program, you made it to the first round of the state playoffs. This year, you're undefeated in league play so far. What are the expectations?
Last year, I asked the guys, what their goals were for this year, and their big goal was to win the league. We lost in the finals last year to LaSalle. Win the district. We lost to Engineering and Sciences in the districts, and then eventually lost in the first round of the states. But their goal is to win all those 3 things this year, and it looks like we definitely have the opportunity to do that this year.
Well, Brendan and Jack, best of luck the rest of the way, and thanks again for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
So for what's going on SFBN, check out our website. Well, that about wraps things up for this edition of SFBN Talks High School Sports. And Mike, pretty cool to have Brendan and Jack here talking about boys volleyball.
It definitely is. We see the sport growing from Lehigh Valley, now starting to make its way into Bucks County, and those 2 guys are great ambassadors for the sport.
Yeah, they really are, and it's nice to see volleyball and lacrosse growing as a nice complement to baseball and softball for the spring sports. For Mike Samsel, I'm Ari Bluestein. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Have a good night. Yeah, lacrosse.
Oh, did you? How was that?
Thank you for watching this episode of SFBN Talks High School Sports. If you liked what you saw and would like to support SFBN, head over to patreon.com/SFBN to become a patron.
Select video equipment for SFBN Talks has been provided by DMP Video. DMP Video. You provide the moment, we'll capture the memories. For more information about our videography services, please go to our website at www.dmpvid.com.
The high school Scholar Athlete of the Month for April is David Wolfson of Shipley School in Bryn Mawr, PA. David is a 3-sport athlete and is a 2-year captain for the lacrosse team. The senior defenseman has been a part of 2 Friends League lacrosse championships and was a member of the Under-19 Israel national lacrosse team. In the classroom, David is an honor student and has also won state and international Entrepreneurship Innovation Plan awards.
The Sports Fanbase Network, this area's leader in high school sports broadcasting, is heading to TCN with a brand new talk show. Join us every other Wednesday at 6 o'clock for SFBN Talks High School Sports. We'll have everything from interviews with players, coaches, writers, and more, plus analysis, rankings, highlights, and in-depth features on major topics in the Delaware Valley high school sports community. Tune in every other Wednesday, 6 p.m. on TCN for SFBN Talks High School Sports.